Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Monday Night Raw review. And tonight's Raw was from the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I gotta say, this show tonight was fucking shitty. It was horrendous. It was boring. That's all. That's pretty much basically what Raw was tonight. And if you guys haven't checked out my previous video, I uploaded it earlier today, my Fastlane review. So if you guys haven't checked out my Fastlane review, definitely go check it out. I thought Fastlane was a solid, decent show last night. Although it had, a few points that, it had, matches, some of them were terrible, and then some of the segments that they had on the show were meh, especially with Elias in 3 segments last night. So, but check out my Fastlane review if you guys haven't checked it out yet. So, but let's get on with the Raw review. So, Raw opened up tonight with the Shield coming out. Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. They end up coming out for their final farewell as the Shield. And Roman says over the past few months, he comes to realize that life is short. He goes on to say if last night at Fastlane it was the last, he has no regrets because he was in the ring doing what he loves and people who he loves. Roman goes on to say that we're on the road to Wrestlemania, and there are 3 men that need to handle their business. Roman says he hasn't had a singles match in 5 months, so he wants to correct that and wrestle tonight. He goes on to say Ambrose has got some business to take care of too, but Seth Rollins has the real business. And so Roman asks Seth, how many years has he been chasing the dream? And the crowd starts chanting, slay the beast. And Roman says that's exactly what he's going to do, replying to, the crowd cheering, slay the beast. And he goes on to say the whole world will also be chanting, burn it down. And so we saw all 3 guys do the Shield fist bump, and their music plays. Roman and Ambrose leave the ring. Seth Rollins remains in the ring. And that's how it ended. So, but kind of a disappointing way to open Raw, because I thought that it wasn't going to be only Roman. I thought Dean Ambrose would say something and also Seth Rollins. But basically, we all just got a full Roman segment. That's all it was. WWE, we're hyping this up, saying, oh, the Shield is going to be their final farewell. And, all 3 guys, we're pretty much going to say, a little something. But no, WWE decides to make it a full-on Roman segment. And Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins didn't say shit. So, but then we had Seth Rollins. Of course, like I said, he remained in the ring. He was looking up at the WrestleMania sign. He says, last night at Fastlane, the Shield burned it down. And so Seth Rollins gets interrupted by Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman comes out. Of course, Brock Lesnar not here tonight at Raw. And Paul Heyman does his shit with my client is the reigning and defending Universal heavyweight champion Brock Lesnar. And so Seth Rollins ends up mimicking Paul Heyman, saying that, the Brock Lesnar. And Seth ends up asking Paul Heyman, if he means Brock Lesnar. the guy that dominates his opponents. You know, the guy who ran through the Big Show, who ran through Samoa Joe. You know, Samoa Joe to Braun Strowman to Goldberg. And Heyman says he appreciates having his shtick done for him. And he says to Rollins, yes, that's Brock Lesnar. And Seth also mentions to Paul Heyman if he meant the same guy that had a real tough time getting past Daniel Bryan. And the same guy who got pushed to his limit by AJ Styles. And also the guy who was this close to being beaten by Finn Balor. And then Paul Heyman says, touche. And Seth Rollins ends up continuing, you know, saying that his client, that Paul Heyman's client, Brock Lesnar, has a bit of a problem with guys his size, you know, guys that has his stature, speed, quickness, agility, and style. And he goes on to say, well, all due respect to those three guys, meaning Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, he says they're incredible. But there's only one man uniquely suited to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. And that's him, Seth Rollins. So he ends up telling Paul Heyman that he's got 3 weeks left before he brings the Universal Championship back to Raw. You know, Seth Rollins, you know, bringing the Universal Championship back to Raw if he defeats Brock Lesnar. And Paul Heyman says there will be no slaying of the beast, and says Seth hasn't told the whole story. Paul Heyman says Brock Lesnar had no time to prepare for any of those opponents. And Paul Heyman, we see he's pointing out all the matches that were changed late, and that Brock Lesnar only had a limited amount of time to prepare for those matches. And so we see Paul Heyman ends up running a video package of Brock Lesnar. You know, we saw all that. And after the video package is over, Paul Heyman says to Seth that ever since he won the Royal Rumble, Lesnar has fantasized about what they're going to do at WrestleMania. And Paul Heyman says to Seth and says, you think you know Brock Lesnar? You do not know Brock Lesnar. And then we see Shelton Benjamin comes out of nowhere. He starts hitting German suplexes to Seth Rollins. And that was how the segment ended. But it was a decent segment. I'm like, Shelton Benjamin is on Raw? And, you know, I'm like, did WWE forget that Shelton Benjamin was still employed with the company? Because he hasn't been shown in like months. The last time we saw Shelton Benjamin, he was on SmackDown. And now he's on Raw. And I think the only reason why Shelton Benjamin is here on Raw is because Shelton Benjamin and Brock Lesnar worked together before they were in WWE. Like they had like the same like comparison, you know, with the suplexes. So I guess that explains why Shelton Benjamin was here tonight. And so after Raw went to commercial, when Raw came back from commercial, we had the first match, Seth Rollins versus Shelton Benjamin. Which this match, you know, it was okay. It was good seeing Shelton Benjamin in the ring again. Seth Rollins was, you know, doing his best to take down Benjamin, but Rollins ended up winning the match. He ended up hitting the curb stomp, or as they would call it, the stomp, on Shelton Benjamin. So Seth Rollins wins the match. Overall, it was an okay match. Then we had, you know, after the match was over, Finn Balor ended up coming out, making his entrance. And so we had the next match, Bobby Lashley versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. And this match was boring. This match was terrible. And we had Lio Rush out there towards the end of the match. Lio Rush comes out, rings the bell. He was shown wearing the hoodie. He was ringing the bell to try to distract Balor. Lio Rush takes the Intercontinental Championship. Balor ends up going after him. Balor ends up, kicking Lio Rush, and Balor, went on to the top rope, but Lashley ended up spearing Finn Balor, ended up pinning Balor. So Bobby Lashley is the new Intercontinental Champion. He's a two-time Intercontinental Champion now. But man, this was terrible. This match was fucking terrible, and they're playing hot potato now with the Intercontinental title. The Intercontinental title now is just worthless, since it went from Lashley, then it went to Balor, and now it went back to Lashley. I'm like, what is WWE's creative department doing with this? Such a short reign for Balor. This proves that Vince does not see any greatness in Balor or the WWE creative. I could tell that this was Vince's idea, to take the title off of Balor and put it back on Lashley. Balor got screwed tonight. Such a short reign for Balor. It should have been longer. Oh my God. So yeah, Bobby Lashley, two-time Intercontinental Champion. Does anybody care? No. So, overall, shitty match. Terrible match. And such a short reign for Balor as Intercontinental Champion. Should have been longer. Oh God, WWE. Then we had Charlie Caruso. She was interviewing Baron Corbin backstage. It was going to be Baron Corbin versus Roman Reigns later tonight, which I'll get to that. But Charlie Caruso was interviewing Baron Corbin, saying about how people are talking about the comments that Corbin made about Roman. When Roman made his announcement of his leukemia coming back. And so they end up playing a recap of what Corbin said, which was said last October. And Corbin says he's not going to walk around hurting people's feelings. He said he wanted Roman gone, and now he's back. So Corbin says tonight Roman is going to get exposed, and he's going to house train the big dog. And that's how the interview ended with Corbin. Then after that, we had Ronda Rousey. She ended up coming out to address her actions that happened last night at Fastlane, where she caused Becky Lynch to win the match against Charlotte by disqualification. So now it's going to be a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship. Ronda versus Charlotte versus Becky. And so Ronda came out. She tells the crowd to take their applause and shove it. And she says she doesn't give a damn what any of these bandwagon bitches think. She ends up saying Becky's a coward and that Becky is the hero we deserve. Ronda says she comes to disgrace our place of worship and humiliate and embarrass Charlotte and Becky at WrestleMania. Ronda says she wants to expose WWE as the carny con artists they've always been, and as she's walking out of WrestleMania the Raw Women's Champion, and no one can stop them. And she's like, WWE can make it into a handicap match, and she'd be embarrassed to break a sweat. And she ends up saying, they and anyone who believes in this charade is a joke. And so out comes Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke has been used in a very long while. I can't remember the last time we saw Dana Brooke. So WWE is finally using Dana Brooke just for this. And I can see Dana Brooke looked a lot different from last time we saw her. And Dana Brooke tells Ronda that we've heard enough of her, and that she's got nothing to lose, and she's not going to let Ronda disrespect WWE, the WWE universe, or the women's locker room. She goes on to say that she may not be a big-time fighter, but she loves this business, and she worked her tail off to get here and earn the respect of the locker room to prove that she belongs here. And she goes on to say, each week on Raw, she fights for a chance and doesn't always get the time of day. And she goes on to say that she might not be on TV, she's not a household name, but all she wants is just one chance. And she goes on to say Ronda offers an open challenge the night after a pay-per-view, and Dana Brooke wants to accept an open challenge. And Ronda takes off her jacket, shrugs it off, attacks Dana. The match doesn't happen. Ronda judo throws Dana on the floor. They end up going back inside the ring. Ronda ends up hitting the Piper's Pit on Dana, the wrist lock. And Ronda tries to decide if she wanted to do the arm bar, and the referees end up coming out to try to separate Ronda. Ronda ends up slapping a referee, which was crazy. I was like, shit, though. And that's how the segment ended. But man, I'm really liking this Ronda here. This is the Ronda that we should have gotten, instead of her, coming out smiling and everything. Because Ronda is a fighter. You need Ronda to be a badass. Go out not smiling, having a determined look, like you're ready to go. You're ready to have this match. So, but really liking this heel Ronda. Like I said, this is the Ronda Rousey we should have gotten. So, and then we had a tag team match. We had Aleister Black and Ricochet versus Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. This match itself, it was fine. It was an okay match. Aleister Black and Ricochet, like I said, delivers in this match. But Aleister Black and Ricochet win the match. Aleister Black ends up hitting the Black Mass on Bobby Roode. That's pretty much what happened. Then after the match, the Revival attack Aleister Black and Ricochet from behind. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable walk back up the ramp. The Revival go to the back. And pretty much that's basically what happened after the match. All in all, the match itself, it was okay because of Aleister Black and Ricochet. Then we had Alexa Bliss come out for her moment of bliss, or a moment of piss. And Alexa talks about how WWE hit 1 billion followers on their social media. And she also mentions about the Shield. And she goes on to do this moment of piss to say, who will be hosting WrestleMania this year? And it's revealed that Alexa is going to be hosting WrestleMania this year. She goes on to say that it's such an honor for the WWE Universe. So that was basically what she came out for, just to announce that she's hosting WrestleMania. I'm like, pretty cool, pretty good. I'm not like, yes, Alexa Bliss is hosting WrestleMania. No, I wasn't like that. So, but it's cool. It's cool that Alexa's hosting WrestleMania. And then we saw Strowman was after that Alexa moment of bliss, moment of piss. We saw Strowman again interviewed about how he choked Colin Jost last week, and Strowman says Colin Jost better stay away from him at WrestleMania. And we see a crew guy comes and says to Strowman that his car is here. Strowman ends up saying to him, "What car?" And so Raw goes to commercial. Then when Raw comes back from commercial, the segment continues, and we see a car, a red car, with a red bow tied around the car, and the guy, crew guy, we also find out that Strowman received a card. And we find out that the car is from Colin Jost of Saturday Night Live. He does does Weekend Update on SNL with Michael Che, which they were the guests last week on Raw. And so Strowman ends up destroying the car, ends up ripping off the door, ends up ripping out the seats. He ends up ripping out the front of the car, like the hood of the car, and he tells the guy to give the hood to Michael Che and Colin Jost, because he ends up telling them the next time he sees them both at Mania, they both will get these hands. So I thought it was pretty funny. No, but now Strowman's gonna possibly get his hands on them at WrestleMania. I know it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be funny. And then we had Elias. Boy, oh boy, if you thought seeing Elias 3 times last night at Fastlane was bad, we gotta sit through another segment with him tonight. So Elias was out saying Strowman, didn't appreciate the gift, and that the crowd will appreciate his gift. And he says if anyone was born in Pittsburgh, they will be a waste of life. He says everyone is miserable here, and that is the advice he gave to Antonio Brown. It was just basically that with Elias. And then we had No Way Jose come out with his conga line. And No Way Jose has a change in looks, like his hair. He colored his hair green. And while No Way Jose makes his way down, Elias ends up kicking him. Elias ends up throwing No Way Jose's conga line guys through the barricade, end up taking him down. He beats up No Way Jose, and Elias ends up delivering a drift away to No Way Jose on the grate, which is which is connected to the ramp. And so that was basically what happened. It was crap. It was shitty segment. Do not care for Elias. I don't think nobody cares for Elias anymore. And I was never a fan of Elias. And so after that we had the Harlem Heat Hall of Fame induction package, video package. It was announced that this morning from USA Today Sports that Harlem Heat, who was Stevie Ray and Booker T, they're going into the Hall of Fame. This will be Booker T's second induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. He went in by himself, and now he's getting inducted with Stevie Ray. And I haven't watched any of the Harlem Heat matches because, you know, it was back in the day. I did not watch as a kid. I did not watch WCW back in the day, but I remember, you know, playing the WCW NWO Thunder game on the PS1, which I received as a kid. So, but I remember from what I heard, Harlem Heat were 10-time WCW tag team champions. But yeah, so I'm really happy that Booker T is going in a second time in the WWE Hall of Fame. So that's pretty cool. And it was a good small little video package for Harlem Heat's induction. And then after that, after the Hall of Fame video package for Harlem Heat, we have Wavy Evans coming out. She's waving. Lacey Evans is who I'm talking about, but I'm calling her Wavy Evans because that's all WWE is making her do, is wave and walk and pose. She ends up coming over to the announce table. And then we had Nia Jax and Tamina coming out. And we had a match. Nia Jax versus Natalya. Before the match got in the way, Natalya ended up coming out. And she ended up saying, last night, she's been thinking about who has her back. She goes on to say she thought Ronda Rousey did. But she didn't have her back. But Ronda didn't have her back like she thought. Natalya says she doesn't trust Nia or Tamina, but she knows her best friend will have her back, who is Beth Phoenix. So Beth Phoenix was here tonight. So we had the match Nia Jax versus Natalya. This match was really short. This was a nothing match because the match ended in disqualification. Nia Jax wins it by disqualification because Beth Phoenix ended up being down on Nia. And that's what, you know, basically happened. And then we went backstage and we saw Bayley and Sasha Banks. They were going after Nia and Tamina there. And they had to get separated. So that was what happened. But Nia Jax versus Natalya. It was a nothing match. Disqualification match. And then here, in my opinion, was the best segment of the night. It was the Triple H and Batista face to face. So Triple H ends up coming out. Triple H is wearing his leather jacket, and he's ready for Batista to come out. Like he came out and he was ready. Triple H was ready. And Batista comes out. He brings out his security because it showed when Raw went to commercial. His van pulled up, and Batista came out of it with his security. Security was following him down. So Batista and his security came down. The security was on the ramp. And Triple H, what was funny, Triple H says, are you just going to stand there like a nose ring model? Or are you going to come in the ring like a man? And I thought that was really funny. I laughed when Triple H said that. It was a funny line that he delivered to Batista. And Batista says the security is here because he's not stupid. And he learned and paid attention. Because he learned from the dirtiest men players in the game. And that was Triple H himself and Ric Flair. Of course, when they were Evolution. And he says he can admit, Batista says he can admit, security's here for his protection. Because he knows Triple H's sledgehammer is close by. And he says that's Triple H's biggest mistake, underestimating him. So Batista ends up telling Triple H that they're going to do this on his own terms. And he wants Triple H to give him what he wants. And Triple H ends up saying he's not giving him a damn thing. He's not giving Batista a damn thing. He ends up saying to Batista, how many times have you quit this company and walked away? And he goes on to say that he's supposed to just, that Triple H is supposed to just hand Batista stuff because he's a big movie star now. And Triple H is like, oh, I'm not giving you anything. And he ends up saying since Batista is too big of a coward to come down to the ring, Triple H says he will step out of the ring and tear through the Guardians of the Independence scene, his security, he means, and he also beat Batista's ass on the stage. And Batista once again says they're not doing this that way. He says if Triple H comes out of the ring, he'll be long gone by the time Triple H gets here. Or, I'm sorry about that. He says if Batista comes out of the ring, he'll be long gone. But, well, I'm getting my notes all mixed up here. But he says if he comes out of the ring, he'll be long gone by the time Triple H gets here. And Batista says, yeah, he quit because he wanted to get as far away from Triple H as he could. Because he was saying that Triple H was always looking down on him and shutting him out. He says Triple H knows what he wants. He's been asking for years. And he's going to give it to him, or he's going to continue hurting people that he loves. That's what Batista said. And Triple H demands Batista to be a man and face him in the ring like a man. And Batista says it's tearing Triple H apart to not be fighting him, but he needs him to say it, to give him what he wants. And he says Triple H doesn't want to do it because he's not in control. And Triple H reiterates saying that he'll give Batista the beating, but Batista says he wants him at WrestleMania. Triple H ends up saying to Batista, is that what you really want? And Triple H ends up saying, oh, the match at WrestleMania, it's on. And Batista thanks Triple H and says that's all he ever wanted. He wanted one last match to end his career on his terms. And also to end Triple H's career on his terms. And he ends up telling Triple H he'll see him at WrestleMania. And Batista starts to leave. And Triple H says, you're right. I'll see you at WrestleMania. And Triple H tells Batista that he better dig deep down inside and find whatever scrap is left of the animal. And he goes on to say when they get to WrestleMania, it might be on Batista's terms, but the match will be on his. The match will be on Triple H's. And so Triple H says to Batista, bring everything you have, because it'll be no rules, no restrictions, no law, no holds barred. And so that's how the segment ended. You see Batista taking off his glasses, his sunglasses. But that was the segment, and it was a good segment. It was possibly the best segment of the night, in my opinion. I'm really interested in seeing this match with Triple H and Batista. Glad that it's a no-holds-barred match. And I feel it's going to be entertaining. I enjoyed Triple H and Batista's rivalry that they had back in the day. My favorite match that they had was back at Vengeance in 2005 when they were in the Hell in the Cell. That's one of my top 5. That match that Batista and Triple H had at Vengeance 05 in that Hell in the Cell. It's on my list of top 5 favorite Hell in the Cell matches. But yeah, can't wait to see Triple H and Batista go at it once again at WrestleMania, especially in no holds barred match. So I think that match is going to be one of, if not many, best matches of the night at WrestleMania when it happens. Hopefully, it's not a disappointment. Hopefully, WWE delivers with that match and makes it great. Because, like I said, I don't want that match to be a disappointment. Then, after that, we had Kurt Angle come out to address his future. Kurt Angle says 23 years ago, he left Pittsburgh to compete in the Olympic Games, which was in 1996, held in Atlanta. And he goes on to say, he won the gold medal with a broken freaking neck. And after the Olympics, it led him to go into WWE 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago, Kurt Angle came to WWE. And he then says whenever he traveled, wherever he was, he goes on to say Pittsburgh has always been his home. And yes, this was in Raw tonight. Was in Kurt Angle's hometown. So, and he says at WrestleMania he will compete in his farewell match. And he thanks WWE. He thanks every superstar he shared the locker room with, and he thanks the fans that made it so special and so fun, so much fun for him. And I'm like, it's about time, Kurt Angle retires, because from the current matches that he has, watching him, I'm like, yeah, it's time for Kurt Angle to retire. And Kurt Angle says he wants to have one last match here in Pittsburgh and then go to WrestleMania. And so Kurt Angle had a match tonight. It was against Apollo Crews. And it was a short match. I can't say that, it was a terrible match, because, it's Kurt Angle's final match on Raw, in Pittsburgh. So, but Kurt Angle ended up winning the match. Of course, he ended up hitting the Angle Slam on Apollo Crews. So, and then after the match, Kurt Angle ended up helping up Apollo Crews. So, and then, the crowd, were on their feet, clapping for Kurt Angle. There was chants for, thank you, Kurt. But if I were to book the match for Kurt Angle's retirement match at WrestleMania, I would put John Cena as Kurt Angle's final. I would put John Cena as Kurt Angle's final opponent in his farewell match, because Kurt Angle had a lot of history with John Cena. Really enjoyed the rivalry that they had, years ago. So they ended up putting on great matches, Kurt Angle and John Cena back in the day. Whenever they had a match, whether it was on SmackDown or Raw or at a pay-per-view, Kurt Angle and John Cena, they both gave it all they got when they had matches back in the day, when they had their feud and their rivalry. So, but I hope WWE, I hope they choose John Cena as Kurt Angle's opponent for his farewell match at WrestleMania. because when John Cena first came into the WWE in 2002, Kurt Angle issued a challenge. And that's when, John Cena was like, oh, I bring ruthless aggression. It was on SmackDown in 2002. I remember watching that. And John Cena, really impressed me. And Kurt Angle was really great there too in that match. I remember watching that match live. And, like I said, hopefully WWE puts John Cena, makes John Cena's Kurt Angle's opponent for his farewell match, because I think that would be great. So then we had the main event. It was going to be Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin, but unfortunately, as Roman made his way to the ring, Drew McIntyre ended up coming out of nowhere. He ends up ambushing Roman. Ends up, taking down Roman. Roman ends up trying to fight back against Drew McIntyre, but we see Drew McIntyre ends up hitting a Claymore kick to Roman on the outside, side of the head first. And McIntyre is just, barking to Roman saying, "Fight, Roman." And then we see McIntyre ends up hitting another Claymore kick to Roman. And Roman's face ends up bouncing off the ring post. And the refs and the doctors, medical staff came to check on Roman, to see if he was alright. Rollins ended up coming out to check up on Roman, saying, if he's all right. And when Seth and Roman were talking, I couldn't fully hear what Seth was saying to Roman, but I ended up hearing Roman say, "Oh, I'm fine. I just have a headache." And so both Seth and Roman and the officials, they end up walking Roman to the back. So unfortunately, the match didn't happen, and thank God it didn't happen, because it would have been a boring ass match. And when Raw came back from the commercial, we saw Dean and Seth, the Shield, they were helping Roman for him to get checked out. And Roman and Seth went in there. Seth went in to get Roman checked out. Dean Ambrose was the one who was outside, and he was storming off. And Dean Ambrose goes to Triple H. And Dean Ambrose says to Triple H that he wants Drew McIntyre tonight in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And Triple H ends up telling Dean Ambrose it's on, and he's going to let Drew McIntyre know. So yeah, so then we had the match. Match was made official. Dean Ambrose ended up coming out, making his way to the ring. Drew McIntyre comes out. He has a mic in hand, and he wants to know if Dean is going to take his beating like a man, or squeal like his pathetic brother. Talking about Roman. And then we see Ambrose ends up charging down, ends up beating up McIntyre, and the match got underway. And I gotta say, this was a very entertaining match. Falls Count Anywhere matches, really entertaining. These guys went all over. They went into the crowd. They went into the stands, outside of the arena. And we saw Dean Ambrose end up biting on Drew McIntyre's fingers, which was funny. Dean Ambrose ended up throwing a table at McIntyre when they were in the crowd. And what was really funny was when they went, outside of the arena into like the stands. We saw Dean Ambrose end up eating, like, I think it was like nachos or like popcorn. He ended up eating it off the floor, which was funny. And we saw Drew McIntyre end up throwing Ambrose into the merchandise over there, and it just went all over. It went on the stage, went on the announce table. Dean Ambrose ended up slamming McIntyre on the announce table, and Renee Young. I've started to notice every time when Dean Ambrose has a match, Renee Young talks more when her husband Dean Ambrose has a match. But when it's any other match, Renee is just like silent. Like she just goes, "Oh, hey, what the hell?" But when it's Dean Ambrose match, since Ambrose, but y'all know what I'm talking about. Just Renee Young talks more when it's her husband having a match. But the match ended with Drew McIntyre winning because Ambrose was put in the handrail by the announce table, and Drew McIntyre ended up hitting the Claymore kick to Ambrose on the handrail, and Drew McIntyre went for the pin. Drew McIntyre ends up winning the Falls Count Anywhere match. So and then we see after the match, McIntyre is on the announce table. He's standing on the announce table. Dean Ambrose, gets back up on his feet, and that wasn't like the right thing to do, because when Ambrose ended up getting back up on his feet, McIntyre comes and hits another Claymore to Ambrose. And that's how Raw ended tonight. So anyways, that's it for Monday Night Raw review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And thank you all for watching. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And like I said, if you guys haven't checked out my Fastlane review that I uploaded earlier, definitely go check it out. And I will have another video coming up tomorrow afternoon. I did this video earlier today after I finished the Fastlane review, so that video is going to be up tomorrow afternoon, and then it'll be the SmackDown review later on. So you're getting 2 videos tomorrow from me. So yeah, so that's it for this video, and until the next video, which will be tomorrow, I'll see you all back here tomorrow.